So, Albert, thank you so much for joining us on this very special day for you. At Pfizer, you had your first quarter results out, which were strong and beat estimates. As you look at those results, why do you think you beat the estimates, and what does it tell you about the rest of the year?
It's about execution. We were very focused, and our commercial machine, which is basically the reflection of these commercial results, is one of a kind. They are very, very good. They understand the customer, they understand the patients, they understand the physicians, and they were able to detail the benefits of our product. So we really did very well, particularly with new and acquired products that grew 22% in a quarter, 22%.
Let's talk about those new and acquired, because a lot of people who are investors in Pfizer say that it really is about the pipeline, what's coming down the pipeline, particularly because of some things coming off a patent. What can you tell us about that pipeline, where you are right now, and what should we be focused on, particularly in that pipeline?
Look, let me start with the pipeline that we acquired, or the businesses that we acquired. We invested almost $80 billion in the last few years in acquiring molecules, pipelines, businesses that will help us overcome the loss of patent period that starts this year. Three account for 80% of this 80 billion. One is Seagen. Seagen did extremely well commercially, 20% growth this quarter, and also, even more importantly, significant readouts in bladder cancer, and we are now expecting significant readouts in lung cancer. So it's transformative for us. The second one is the Biohaven. That was the migraine acquisition. That is growing 41% this quarter, and is having more claims that are coming into the next couple of years. And the third was Metsera, which is our anti-obesity platform of peptides, that we announced a record 10 phase 3 studies program starting this year. So that's what drives performance.
As you look at your pipeline, either as it is now or how you might like it to be, there's a lot of cancer emphasis and also obesity, as you just said. Would you like to enhance the pipeline in either of those areas, or would you be interested in other areas?
Constantly, we are looking to enhance the pipeline in the areas that we are strong, because we can select rightly and we can combine. So we are looking things in oncology, although we have probably one of the largest pipelines of oncology drugs right now in Pfizer. We are looking clearly to comprehend it. In obesity, also, we have acquired from Metsera a very big gamut of molecules. Weekly, monthly combinations with amylins, that they are progressing very, very nicely. But we are looking also for the next generation of obesity medicines that we are trying internally and through acquisitions. And we are interested to build up also our immunology franchise. We had a very good readout of a tri-specific for atopic dermatitis that now we are trying in asthma and COPD. Very, very impressive, strong results. And that could be the core on which we will build to enhance the inflammation and immunology portfolio.
For those of us on the outside watching these developments, all the readouts you're getting, the testing you're getting, the results, give us a scorecard. How do you keep score on whether you are where you need to be on developing the new drugs?
We are keeping score every quarter and every 6 months and every year and over the years. Already this year, we announced in the beginning of the year, we need to have 4 regulatory approvals, and half of them has been already achieved almost in 1 quarter. We announced that we want to have 8 significant readouts, and so far we had 3 or 4 of them already occurring. And we announced that we are going to start 20 clinical trials, and we are monitoring when each one of them starts. The same is with our commercial operations. We are monitoring how we are doing in terms of market share, how we are doing in terms of revenues, and the same is on our margins. We are deploying AI in ways that allows us to improve our productivity, dramatically actually, and that allows us to increase margins.
Tell us about AI, because we hear about that a fair amount in pharmaceuticals and specifically at Pfizer. Can you give us any specific examples where it really moved you forward faster?
Absolutely. We were reviewing with our board the first molecule that we were able to completely design through AI just 2 weeks ago. And 3 months ago, we wouldn't be able to do it. And 3 months later, we have already a molecule already designed, right, in the phase. But also, I want to say that when it speaks about AI, there are two different areas. One, it is what technology can do now and cannot do everything, but clearly can do much more than we are using it to. And the bottleneck for something like that is not technological limitations. It is organizational ability to transform itself into an AI native organization. It is inertia, it is fear of people, it is people they don't understand the language of AI. These are the things that we are trying to correct. AI will change the way that we do things. And as a result, because of this big disruption, will create a new list of winners and losers. And those that they will be able to transform themselves by using AI will be on the top of the list. And those that they will not will go in the bottom. Pfizer wants to be on the very, very top of this list.
One of the challenges for the CEO of such a big and complex company as Pfizer is you have to do more than one thing at a time. And I don't mean just develop more than one pharmaceutical at a time. You have to really manage the costs at the same time you're investing in the R&D and the development. How are you coming on that front?
You're right that you need to multitask if you are a CEO, and you mentioned some of the things that R&D, which is my passion, and I want to work with my scientists to understand what we can do. Of course, to control the cost, but we have to do also politics, if you are asking me. So I was spending more time in Washington than with my R&D people the whole last year and this year in the beginning. So you need to be able to multitask, and as long as you have a good compass, a North Star, you know where the organization should go, and you select the right people that they can take you there, you are okay.
You do spend some time in Washington, as I understand it, and part of that, I suspect, is with the FDA, Mr. McCary, and there are a lot of reporting about Mr. McCary. I'm not going to ask about that specifically, but how has the FDA been for you? They were going to revolutionize the way they approve new medicines. Are you seeing that in practical effect?
I don't see it yet, but I wouldn't expect to see it also in such a short period of time. I'm very encouraged with the comments that they made. Martin McCary made some comments recently about how he plans to modernize FDA so that we can accelerate drug development, because China has already eaten our lunch. I have seen Dr. Oz speaking about how we can make HHS much more productive. So I'm encouraged by that. We haven't seen it yet, but I'm encouraged that they are thinking in the right direction.
There's been some back and forth, at least for those of us on the outside of the FDA, about the schedule for vaccinations for COVID. Has that affected your sales?
Yeah, it was mostly on the CDC, the schedule. There was some variation that FDA asked us to do on COVID, which we did, although we disagree scientifically there was any merit to do it, but we did it because they are FDA. CDC was a very painful story, I think. And they did things that hurt the credibility of this renowned institution. Things that forced, for example, the American Academy of Pediatricians to start issuing their own guidelines because they wouldn't trust anymore the guidelines of the CDC. Again, I think we have now a turnaround there. The new director that was appointed is a very credible scientist, has a lot of credentials, and I'm optimistic that all these bad things that we saw in the vaccines are in the past.
You also have been developing a vaccine for Lyme disease, as I understand it. Where does that stand? You need more data.
I think we are going to, with the data that we have right now, that was more than 3 years study, so we have a lot of data. And we are going to submit, and we will see how regulators will respond, but probably I'm encouraged that we will get it approved. This is a disease that is devastating. There is no vaccines right now, and the incidence is growing. There are 600,000 cases of Lyme disease every year, and the long-term consequences in the health of the people that are getting the disease are really enormous. So I'm optimistic that we have something good for the patients here.
Let's go international for a moment. I know that you've entered into agreements with some Chinese firms, both this year and I believe last year as well. Describe those agreements and what they do for Pfizer.
We have done several agreements. Most of them are in licensing, which means that technology and innovation that they have developed, that's very early stage, that we found promising. We license these technologies and we are developing it ourselves, not in China, but in the US. That affects GLP-1, that affects oncology, very big program that we started. And that's the first part. There was also another one that was quoted heavily. We launched 10 days ago in China a GLP-1. It is pretty much a weekly GLP-1 with very good performance. And we do that from one hand because China is a big market and that will allow us to generate significant revenues there with that. But even more importantly, we will learn how to market obesity products. So when we launched in the US and internationally in year 2028, we will be already skilled and skillful and experienced.
Do you see further opportunity down the road for Pfizer in China?
Well, yes, I think Chinese are having very strong science right now. And when science is taking you, you should follow. And I don't think that anyone will say, don't get Chinese medicine that will help my kid fight its cancer, right? So it's, God forbid. So it is extremely important when it comes to science to be universal. What I am concerned, and I'm talking to the administration and the previous administration, it is that right now China is having a meteoric rise in their scientific capabilities, and they will be the main competitors of ours. So the new COVID vaccines or the new cancer treatments will not be anymore developed in the US, actually could be developed in China. And to prevent that, or we should not try to slow down China, which is where 80% of the effort is going right now. 80% of the effort should be how to become better than them. That's why I commented positively on the comments of Martin Makary, that China is moving and we need to become better than them. We need to make sure that we streamline regulations so more medicines will come through the finish line.
I understand the situation in Europe may be a bit more complicated. There's been some back and forth about how much Pfizer can charge for its pharmaceuticals in Europe. Where does that stand?
Look, David, we made an agreement with the HHS, which clearly we plan to honor. This agreement says that there is a basket of several countries that we need to have similar prices with the US when we launch new products. That will happen. So I see two ways. The countries that we are talking about, rich European countries, either they should pay the fair share of innovation, or they have to live without this innovation.
You have made some major acquisitions. You mentioned Metsera, for example, a moment or two ago. Do you anticipate further major acquisitions for Pfizer?
We will do bolt-on this type of acquisitions. At that magnitude, yes, we will continue doing it. Probably are focusing right now on earlier stage science, and we are very, very active in that field.
And finally, you're entering into a new era, I think it's fair to say, at Pfizer. Take us out a few years. How do you envision Pfizer 3-5 years down the road?
Look, many things will be pretty much very different, but many things will remain the same. Let me start with what I see remaining the same. Pfizer in 5 years will be a patient-centric organization. The patient will be in the center of everything we do. It will be the same passion, we will have the same passion for science as we have today. That will not change. And our people will have the same pride that they have today, that they are working in a company that saves lives. Now, everything else will change in 5 years. The way that we do things, from drug discovery to drug development to drug manufacturing to drug marketing, will be very different. And AI, it is what will make all these changes radical and effective. As a result, I said, we will be an AI native company at that time. and we should be able to be a leading industry growth company in terms of revenues.
Okay, Albert Bourla, thank you so very much.